I hope you enjoyed a relaxing off day yesterday. Brewers are on the East Coast. 3 games against the Boston Red Sox, who split a series with the Guardians this past week, and with the team idle yesterday. We got plenty of mailbag questions to get to today. A lot to talk about, a lot centered about trades, of course. And we're going to put on our general manager / president of baseball operations caps here. Let's have some fun with a mailbag edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, wherever you may be listening from. Today is Friday, July 29th. Yep, the last episode of the month of July for us. I'm Dominic Cotroneo. This is your only daily podcast dedicated to the Milwaukee Brewers all season long. All of our episodes are here, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as our YouTube page, where the video version is pointed as well. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. Brewers are in Boston. They play tonight, a 6 o'clock Central Time first pitch. It'll be Brandon Woodruff getting the ball going up against the rookie Brian Bayo, 6'10" first pitch from Fenway Park tonight. Note, Rowdy Tellez has a career 300-plus batting average at Fenway Park, so keep that in mind tonight as you're watching on Bally Sports Wisconsin, where I am the statistician of Bally Sports Wisconsin. Boston is my favorite city in America, and I'm sad I'm not going to be there, but we'll be watching along with the rest of you, giving all the fun nuggets on Twitter as well. With the aforementioned tease, this is a mailbag episode. Before we jump into your questions, just want to jump on a quick soapbox. See a lot of negativity these days on Brewers social media, enough positivity as well. But let's talk about what it means to be in a championship window before we jump into these questions. I see a lot of folks complaining about Mark Atanasio not opening his checkbook and things of that nature, and they're not winning, they're not going for a World Series. It's not that simple, I guess is the easiest way to put it. And I want to explain to folks, net worth doesn't mean you're flush with that cash right now, right? It doesn't mean there's a bank account for Mark Atanasio with a B in it. It means if he sold all of his assets, that's the kind of money that he would be returning. So let's make sure we get that definition clear first and foremost. Second of all, the Brewers have made the postseason in 4 straight years. I know you want a World Series, but if throwing money at the problem was the solution to winning a World Series every year, then how come the Yankees haven't even been to a World Series since 2009? Yes, the Red Sox have won 3 since they broke the curse of the Bambino. You look at what the Dodgers doing. They won a ring in 2020, no matter what you want to call it. I'm still kind of on the fence about a 60-game season and earning a ring, but hey, they won a ring. And they got to spend a lot of money to do it. But you look at it. Last year, they were the best team on paper. They still couldn't win the ring. Braves threw a lot of money in, but they also had some good development. What I'm trying to say is this championship window of sustained success in what is a small market in Milwaukee needs to be marveled. And I tweeted the records through 99 games over these last 4 full seasons, including this season, of playoff teams. It's a remarkable run of consistency for the Brewers. They're 55-44 right now. Last year at the 99-game mark, they were 58-41, so 3 games better. But that was their best mark of this 4-year stretch. In 2019, they were 51-48, and in 2018, they were the same as they were this year, 55-44. Absolutely remarkable consistency for a team that, let's be honest, only the last 2 years has it been a consistent cast of characters. You know, with Christian Yelich being the only main constant, and Brandon Woodruff and Josh Hader perhaps. But aside from that, the supporting cast has been in and out the last few seasons. I think of Moustakas in 18-19. I think of Jesus Aguilar. Obviously, he's gone. Rowdy Tellez acquired mid-year. Willy Adames acquired mid-year. Luis Urias acquired at the end of 19. It's a very new, fresh team in 2020 as opposed to what it was in 2019, which makes the success even more admirable and even more impressive, in my opinion, for what the Brewers have been able to do over these last 4+ seasons. And when you talk about throwing money, when you talk about market size, when you talk about all this stuff, so since 2008, the first time the Brewers made the playoffs since 1982, and you go back to the Cubs, just comparing these two markets. Well, the Brewers have a better winning percentage than the Cubs since 2008. Yes, I know the Cubs finally won a World Series in 2016. The Brewers have about 30 more wins than the Cubs in that span. They have the same number of playoff appearances, and they are certainly on a better trajectory right now than what the Cubs are doing. So appreciate it. Don't complain just to complain. Your team is about to make the playoffs, if things go according to plan, for a 5th consecutive season. Do you realize how hard that is to do? Any team, how hard that is to do. That is an incredible accomplishment to do that in Milwaukee. So David Stearns, Matt Arnold, Mark Adonasio, and company all deserve a little bit of your credit for what's been going down here in Milwaukee. If you want to say they're cheap, if you want to say they need to spend more, if they want to, there's no guarantee of success for spending more. And let's also be honest. The Brewers finally did the right thing by extending the superstar in Christian Yelich ahead of 2020. If you were sitting, go back to the moment you read that headline in 2020. Oh my goodness, Christian Yelich is going to be a Brewer for life. You were excited. It was the right thing to do. Hindsight's 2020. Let's see what he can become in these next couple of months. If he can continue to show that he's healthy, maybe this toe tap's going to work. Nonetheless, the Brewers finally did it. They did what small market teams don't do. They signed a mega extension superstar. Don't ignore that. They're trying to build that trust and that belief that they want to go and win the dang thing. They really do. And let's be honest, too. If you got 2018, 2019 Christian Yelich on this team right now, this team's fighting for the 1 seed in the National League. But that's just not the case. It's not how the cards fell. Everybody deals with injuries. Everybody has to adjust. Father Time is undefeated. Sometimes it's faster for some guys than others. You adjust and you move on. That's my little soapbox rant. I want to get into the mailbag, to have some fun with this. A lot of trade questions to be expected, of course. But I want to start with a couple of a fun question, though, just asking about stats in my job. Let's get this out of the way from MVP Nacho. What is the difference of my job when I'm doing stats for Bally, when I'm doing stats for the YouTube game like I did on Wednesday, and when I'm doing stats for TBS with Brian Anderson? It's a good question, and I'll keep the Cliff Notes version of it. For Bally Sports, basically I'll do a one-sheeter where I just do one sheet of what are the best notes available of this game. We can have packets and packets and packets of stuff, and I call it getting lost in the sauce. Like, look, if I'm just spewing numbers to these guys, we're going to lose sight of a good game. So what is the one page of the most important notes for this game? And it's stuff that I'm not going to use from the game notes, which are very, very good, by the way, from Andrew Grumman and Mike Vassallo and Jack Eidelberg. They all do great, great work. But I try to create something a little offbeat of that. Some of the advanced stuff, some of the current stuff, maybe some stuff that would be negative as opposed to what game notes would be. Just have one sheet available for our crew and one for the visiting crew. So the guys have that in the booth, and we can kind of nibble at it and see if that kind of stuff comes up in the game. So that's what I do for Bally. For YouTube, it's just some light research on both teams, especially bullpens, understanding what roles they're in, the pitches they throw, what their splits are, righties versus lefties. I start to think like a manager when I'm doing national games of understanding, okay, a pinch hitter's probably going to come up here. He's probably going to go to this guy because he's so good against lefties, and they may bring the infield. That kind of stuff is what I'm thinking about when I'm doing a YouTube game. It's a lot lighter just because YouTube and Apple in particular, stats are important, obviously, but I think the direction that those broadcasts go, they just kind of want the game to speak for itself and tell stories and things of that nature. And I'm fine with that, but the job itself is still exactly the same in all three of these between TBS, Bally, and YouTube in the actual game. I'm getting home run distances. I'm getting when was the last time he had 10 strikeouts? When was the last time this guy had 4 hits? When was the last time that Hunter Renfroe had an outfield assist? That kind of stuff is what I'm fine. Then finally for TBS, I go all in on researching the bullpens. I make these little cards to understand the splits and the pitches they use. I'll have situational stuff ready, like if a guy has back-to-back games with 3 hits, when was the last time so-and-so did that, or when was the last time a Cardinal did that, or whatever game we're doing, some team-specific stuff, because let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be doing a Brewer game, and also, I would say 7 times out of 10, I'm going to be doing a team that the Brewers don't play. a Yankees or a Red Sox or potentially a White Sox. The games I've done this year are the Dodgers, who the Brewers haven't seen yet this year, against the Cardinals, which obviously you know a little bit about the Cardinals. I've done a Yankees and Rays game. The Brewers hadn't seen the Rays when the time I did that. Did a Yankees and Angels game. Brewers obviously don't face those guys yet, so you really dive in head first for those kind of games. So fun question. I wanted to get that one out of the way from MVP Nacho. Let's jump into some actual baseball stuff. This question came from the username Sounds Are Good, and it pertains to the Nashville Sounds. Who do you see moves up to AA and AAA in the rest of the year? As we get near the end of the season now in the minor leagues, mind you, AAA has 2 more months. They'll play until the end of September. AA will end in mid-September. So, in essence, the season's kind of almost done. And when you look at pitchers probably only have 7 more starts if they go every 5th or 6th day. Remember, every Monday is an off day. So, there's really not a lot of time to move a guy up this late in the season, especially a pitcher. Hitting-wise, it's the same thing. The moves have been made as kind of a ripple effect from the draft. You just had this infusion of talent arrive into the organization, and they will be assigned out from the Arizona Complex League to Low A Carolina. That's why you see a small little bump of promotions to High A Appleton to the T-Rattlers, as these new draft picks will be heading to Zebulon, to be heading to the Carolina Mudcats. So when you ask who do you think is going to go to AA or AAA this year, I think they're pretty much done. I don't foresee any more movement between the levels that would be shocking. I was rooting for Antoine Kelly to get to AA, but there's no reason to rush his development, given it's finally a fully healthy season for Antoine Kelly. Of course, the Brewers' Futures game participant this year, Garrett Mitchell's got to stay healthy. He hit a home run last night. More on him a little bit later. Sal Frelick missed a little bit of time this year, too. Joey Weimer, more on him in a little bit, too. But let's let the guys have a normal year, because it's been a little bit since we've had a normal year, and then see where we can be in 2023. I like the question, but I think they're going to stand pat. I think they're going to slow play it, because big league team's going to be pretty much set the rest of the way. Good question there. I know you came here for trade questions, so I promise we're going to get to some trade questions here in just a second. But first, do you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders? Fall is coming. That fun season, maybe it's a business built around playoff baseball. Well, LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for you to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs, and you can create that job that can reach your network and beyond. There's over 800 million people on LinkedIn. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. They have simple tools like screening questions, and they make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs wants to help you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. There are nearly 40 million job seekers visiting LinkedIn every single week. I've been one of them. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. Again, that's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. With trade deadline chat fever in the air, I am planning on being live right around the trade deadline pregame Tuesday. So the trade deadline is 5 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday afternoon. Brewers play at 6 o'clock that night in Pittsburgh. I will be at the Valley Sports Wisconsin studios. I plan on being live on YouTube. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to try to find a way to also stream it on Twitter as well. But we're going to roll in and react to the news in the moment if the Brewers make any deals, or maybe if the Brewers make a big splash before the trade deadline, we don't do it live and we just react to that trade. So that's the plan coming up, and we can react to all of Major League Baseball in that regard too. So be on the lookout for that Tuesday and Monday. Who knows? There could be more trades to react to by Monday's episode the next time we chat. In fact, there was a trade last night. The Mets acquiring Tyler Naquin and Philip Deal from the Cincinnati Reds for some minor leaguers. So the stove's getting warmer. Look out. So let's jump into some of these trade questions here. Let's start with the club getting healthier and the depleted farm system. Is there a chance that we do nothing? That question came from Brian. Or do we go after a prospect a la a Jared Kelenic? So let me start with the Jared Kelenic aspect of this question from Brian. There's no chance the Mariners are going to give up on a 23-year-old outfielder with team control through the 2027 season. They are going to stay very patient with Jared. He's hitting again well in AAA. He's got a .170 batting average in the major leagues. They're going to be patient with him because now the pressure is kind of off of him with the return of Kyle Lewis. Jesse Winker is on the team, obviously. Taylor Trammell is on the outfield depth chart. Abraham Toro can fill in on occasion. They're pretty set in the outfield right now as far as what they need immediately. So Kelenic can kind of find his footing again and earn his way back to the big leagues. And I don't see the Brewers making a run at bringing Jared Kelenic back home to the state of Wisconsin. But is there a chance the Brewers do nothing? Absolutely. I agree with this take 100%. There's a very good chance the Brewers are already done. Adding Jake McGee as a low-risk, high-reward kind of lefty bullpen arm is the exact kind of move we would expect the Brewers to make. And a reminder, they are getting healthier. They're going to run out of room on this roster. They're already at 40-man on the roster right now. And you look at the minor leagues, you've still got Mark Mathias and Pablo Reyes on the roster for depth, for the 40-man roster, that is, for depth in case of injuries to infielders. But you've already got Jace Peterson now out for a little while. You don't have a lot of depth at third base as it currently stands, so you do need to keep a Reyes or Mathias on this current roster. You obviously still have Pedro Severino. We've talked about him ad nauseum. You still got Jason Alexander on the 40-man. Just sent Ethan Small back down. He's going to be on the 40-man. There's not a lot of room for when you activate a guy like a Justin Topa off the 60-day IL, when you activate Freddie Peralta off the 60-day IL, when you activate Jake Cousins off the 60-day IL. That's three guys that need to be added back to the 40-man roster. And the Brewers are going to have to be creative in doing that. So adding pieces may not be the answer to do that for them in this trade deadline. And let's be honest, are they a perfect team? No. Are they a good team? Yes. And the market may not be what the Brewers are looking for in regards to adding a bat at the right price. And it's already a depleted farm system. It's in the bottom 10 rankings in just about every service that you can find out there. MLB, Baseball America, and Fangraphs all have the Brewers in the bottom 10, some of them even in the bottom 5. So they may not be exactly in a rush to go make a big splash right now. Good question from Brian. And Nick asked a similar question with the Yankees getting Andrew Benintendi. What does that trade outlook look like for the outfield right now for Milwaukee? We talked about this yesterday, Nick. I would encourage you to click ahead to the final segment of yesterday. But the outfield market right now, Ramon Laureano has 2 years of control. Ian Happ has an extra year of control, but I doubt the Cubs trade him within division. I don't think the Brewers are getting Juan Soto. I don't think the Brewers are getting Brian Reynolds. But Joey Gallo's a rental. I don't think they're getting him either. Sounds like Trey Mancini is going to be traded. He's more of a first baseman, though, not really an outfielder. Michael A. Taylor could be a candidate. Now with Benintendi gone, do the Royals continue to tear things down? But again, I don't see Michael A. Taylor being as much of an upgrade. Maybe defensively, of course, over Tyrone Taylor, but I don't see him as an upgrade with the bat over Tyrone right now. So that's where my eyes go to Ramon Laureano. More on him a little bit later. Finally, I want to get to a minor league question here from Kevin. Is it far-fetched to bring up Garrett Mitchell or Joey Wiemer at some point this year? Are there any other minor leaguers that should be on the radar? It is far-fetched to answer that question. If you're wondering, well, why haven't they called up Garrett Mitchell? What's going on with him? He was a first pick overall in 2020. This dude should be ready, right? He was a college pick out of UCLA. And Joey Wiemer, we've heard so much about Joey Wiemer. He was the minor league player of the year last year. Bring him up. He should be ready by now, right? Well, let me start with Mitchell. He's 23 years old. He's only played 40 games again this year. He's had a lot of injury history. He had an oblique injury this season, missed a lot of time. He's missed about half the season. He's playing well in Double-A. Hit a home run yesterday. He's hitting .270. He's got a .776 OPS. Again, he's only 23 years old. The big goal this year for Garrett Mitchell from the Brewers organization standpoint was, let's get him through a year healthy, and that hasn't happened. So there's no reason to rush him right now as a corner outfielder where the Brewers are certainly robust and abundant in corner outfielders on this roster right now. I think they're going to slow play it with Mitchell specifically, and I think he's going to stay put in Double-A for the rest of the season. Now, Joey Wiemer is interesting. Joey Wiemer, 23 years old as well. He's played just about the entire year with Double-A Biloxi. Hitting .243. He's got a .446 slug, a .768 OPS, so just a few points down for Mitchell because of the on-base percentage being a little bit less than Garrett Mitchell's. He hits bombs. He's among the league leaders in the Southern League in homers. He's also got 24 stolen bases. He's got a chance to have a 2020 season in Double-A Biloxi. And the Southern League is a pitcher's league, mind you. Very impressive to see what Joey's doing to back it up. One thing that stands out to me about Joey that is worrisome for me, his K rate has jumped dramatically this year. He's got a 30% strikeout rate this year as compared to just 22% all of last season. How will he respond if he does go to AAA by the end of the year, which I don't think he will? How is he going to respond next season against just another step better of pitching in AAA? Will his K rate continue to rise? Do we see a lot of that swing and miss? I mean, that dude does not get shorted on a swing. He is all or nothing on his swings, which is a beautiful thing and a not so beautiful thing at times. I don't see either of those guys getting called up this year. And when you look at the AAA roster, there aren't any outfielders that are going to immediately impact the Brewers as things stand right now. And if you're thinking about Bryce Terang, do they think about calling him up right now? This was another question. I forget who asked it. Do they bring up Bryce Terang? Do they give him a shot with Colton Wong being getting ready to have a team option? You don't bring up Terang right now because Terang's even younger. Terang's only 22. And with zero playoff experience, with zero experience in the big leagues right now, what I do imagine they're going to do this year, if and when the Brewers make the playoffs, you always get to have a bigger traveling party in the postseason. I would really expect them to bring Bryce Terang up to be a part of the traveling party and just see the big leagues, because he's going to be added to the 40-man roster this offseason because he's going to be Rule 5 draft eligible. If you're not familiar with the Rule 5 draft, it's, in a nutshell, an opportunity for other teams to pluck you from other organizations without having to make a trade if you're not on the team's 40-man roster. It's basically putting urgency on the teams to show prospects that they care about them and they can't just stash them and say, nobody can touch this guy. The Rule 5 draft gives opportunities for players who may be roadblocked or may not have a chance to make it to the big leagues just by a fact of a perennial superstar is ahead of them. But Terang's going to be added to the 40-man this offseason, so I imagine they're going to bring him up, show him the future, show him what it's like in the playoffs this year, but I don't see them bringing him up to replace Colton Wong this season. There is a very good chance that Terang is the starting second baseman next season for the Milwaukee Brewers if they decline the team option on Colton Wong. That's a conversation for another time. Good minor league questions there. Let's talk about Keston. Let's talk about the issues that are faced right now with Stearns and Matt Arnold and the overall outlook of things right now on the hot stove. Before we do that, one more quick read from BetOnline, our presenting sponsors today. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite teams. They've got podcasts on there. They've got your scores. They've got your futures for the NFL. Obviously, training camp is happening right now with our friends at Locked On Packers, and everyone's riding the bikes, one of the best traditions in sports. You can see all that stuff. You can see props on there as well. So let's go ahead and look ahead to see what they have for tomorrow's game. BetOnline's got the Brewers favored by a 1.5. They're minus 161 on the money line, and the over-under is set at 9 even, so there's a chance for a push on that one. Let me know. Maybe you're going to put some action on it. I don't know, but go to BetOnline to let you know where the game starts. Keston Hiura is a popular question in all of this. What do the Brewers do with Keston? This was asked by Lex Ball. That's a good question. It really is a good question. Let's start with the first most important thing. He's under team control for another 3 seasons. He's not going to be a free agent until 2026. So he's got 23, 24, and 25 under team control. So that's some good news as far as patience that could be coming with Keston Hiura and what the Brewers want to do with him. Another good thing from the organization's standpoint, as opposed to Keston's standpoint, he's still got one more option year remaining after this one. And he was optioned, of course, last year, and he's been optioned this year. So next year, he can be optioned again and still be under team control as he gets ready to head into arbitration. When we talk about Keston, and I know 2019 was a very, very fun year for everybody involved, and 2020 even, 13 more bombs in the shortened season. It hasn't been the same since. And over his last 104 games, just the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, in the big leagues, he's hitting 197, he's got a 298 on base, and only a 363 slugging. He's only got 12 homers over his last 104 games after having 13 in 59 games in 2020. That worries me. The swing and miss is too big to ignore. He has struck out in 40% of his at-bats this season. That's not exactly exciting. Now, when he puts the bat on ball, he does well. He does damage. His weighted runs created plus is above average, 28 points above average. 128 is his weighted runs created plus. That's where you measure it. 100 is league average. Anything positive is good. Anything less than 100 is less than league average. He doesn't walk a lot. We know that. He's walked a little more this year. And when you look at his OPS, you think, oh, cool, he's hitting 805. That's a great OPS. Well, when you dive a little bit deeper, he's only had 144 plate appearances this season. That's roughly barely a quarter of a season. So I worry about that when it comes to Keston, the sample size still being small and still having that many strikeouts. Does he deserve another chance? Yes, absolutely. He's your first-round pick for a reason. And I want to give him kudos for this past offseason with all the turmoil and all the uncertainty with the lockout. That dude arrived ready to go in spring training. Give him kudos to that. He had a heck of a camp. He earned his spot on this team. And unfortunately, it didn't quite click performance-wise in the big leagues. That should be commended. Kudos to him for doing that. The other thing that's holding him back, though, from rejoining the big league team imminently is defense. Where is he going to play? The team's healthy again. You don't need him at second base. You don't need him at first base. Right now, with Rowdy Tellez at first, you can throw Victor Caratini there because you're carrying 3 catchers right now. You can throw Mike Brasso there at first base, as we've already seen in this past week. Is it pretty? Not always, but it's one of those things that if it's a toss-up between Mike Brasso and Keston Hiura at first base, it's really Rowdy's position every day, and the Brewers are just owning it defensively, saying, oh, well, you know what? We can survive one day with Brasso at first, so why not have it be Keston Hiura? That's a fair question to have. In my opinion, Keston's future, and I agree with Vinny Rottino on this, who's been on the show, of course, former co-host, he believes Keston's future is left field, which is obviously occupied right now by Christian Yelich. Again, the defense is what's bringing him back. And while the Brewers have Andrew McCutchen on the roster, I would love to see Keston given the chance to have the reverse split DH role, where Kutch only hits against lefties and Hiura only hits against righties because the splits are gaudy in the reverse splits fashion. Do they use him as trade bait? I don't think so. Because of the strikeout totals, a lot of teams may be shy to going to get Keston Hiura. And also, as the reasons before, he's got 3 more years of team control. He's an asset. He is somebody that is controllable and cheap and worthy. Do they use him for a trade chip and maybe send him in a deal where they're getting somebody that isn't a rental? That could be something to be considered. But I don't see the Brewers trading Keston Hiura. I think because there's still one more option year and because he came to camp ready to go, see what he can do, the team control is too much to ignore to have Keston given away this upcoming offseason or even this upcoming deadline. A couple more quick ones here. This one came via DM, just asking about my broadcasting career. This one came from Daniel. The question is, what would you say to keep moving up in the broadcasting world so that you can get to college and to the pro levels eventually if you're somebody that wants to do what I do or what Brian Anderson does or what Jeff Levering does, of that sort of thing? I'll just give a quick synopsis of my path. I started calling games in high school when I was 17 years old, set up my own gear, followed the team, did all the road games from my high school, then took that tape to Arizona State, did games at Arizona State, took that tape to the Cape Cod Baseball League, did 2 summers on the Cape, the Chatham A's, then took that tape to the winter meetings and got to do 4 seasons of professional minor league baseball. Took that tape, got to do Major League Baseball spring training for the Rangers, A's, and Astros. Took that tape, got to do Pac-12 Network. So it's a big domino effect. And the common denominator of all this, just find a way to get reps. I started doing high school games. It doesn't matter if it's just watching a game off a monitor or if you're going to watch your high school, if you're going to watch a Northwoods League game. Just do the game. Practice. That's how Doc Emmerich, the best hockey announcer who ever lived, started doing it. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, he would go up to the upper deck of the hockey rink and do the game into a tape recorder. It's how Vince Scully started doing it. It's how every broadcaster started doing it. Just do it. That's my best advice to anybody who wants to get into this world. Last question on this jam-packed Mailbag Friday. And it's a hypothetical. It's a good question from Graham, and it's a simple question. If you were David Stern / Matt Arnold, what would you do? Thanks for giving me that kind of power, Graham. and he uses the hashtag KestDaddyRedemption in his Twitter handle. So it's relevant, as we just talked about. Keston Hiura probably not going to get traded, but I'm rooting for him. What would I do if I'm David Stearns or Matt Arnold? I've been saying it since early May that I want Ramon Laureano. Am I biased because I've worked for the A's the last few years? Yes. Do I know what he can bring to this team? Yes. Is it going to be a no doubt lights out power bat? No, of course not. But the reason why Ramon Laureano makes so much sense for the Brewers is because, first of all, there is no outfield depth. There is no true center fielder slamming down the door right now as far as pick me, I'm your center fielder of the future. This gives you time with Ramon Laureano's extra 2 years of team control. Yes, his price tag is big, but because it buys you time, it gives you a chance to groom a guy like Jackson Chourio to make sure he is ready by the time perhaps Laureano's contract is done. Chourio's in high A at 18 years old. That's a freak of nature, which means, in theory, he could be in the big leagues by the time he's 21 years old. That's a scary thought with the current trajectory that he's on. So give him time. Don't rush him. Bring Ramon Laureano in. Have Ramon be a mentor even too for Chourio as well in spring training. Give him a chance to learn from a really good defensive outfielder. He can hit a little bit. He'll give you his best. He's not as fast as he used to be. Still got a great arm. He'll play good enough center field for you. He's not Lorenzo Cain. He'll play good enough center field for you, and he can be somebody that lengthens this lineup as we talk about so much. And he's right-handed, so he can hit lefties. You look at this lineup, a hypothetical lineup with Ramon Laureano in it. Leading off, playing in left field, Christian Yelich. Batting second, shortstop, Willy Adames. Batting third, first baseman, Rowdy Tellez. Batting fourth, cleanup hitter, right fielder, Hunter Renfroe. That's pretty much unchanged. So let's put the DH as Andrew McCutchen, batting fifth. Let's put Colton Wong batting sixth, just to break up all of these righties. Then batting seventh is Ramon Laureano. That's a little bit of pop hanging out at the bottom of this order that can keep turning things over. Let's put Omar Narvaez batting eighth just for the sake of, again, breaking up the righties and lefties. And then Luis Urias bats ninth. And he's got experience as a leadoff hitter, so you kind of have that fake double leadoff. And you've got Yelich, Wong, Laureano, and Urias, all who have leadoff hitter experience. That's a pretty stretched out lineup. That's the guy I would go after first and foremost. And one under-the-radar move that I would be looking to make is adding a reliever. And I would think about adding an Andrew Chafin, and a left-handed situational guy, kind of like what Jake McGee is right now. But so I understand the Brewers might have already made this move, but Chafin, another low-risk, high-reward. He's on a one-year deal. There's a player option in effect for next year, so he might be a little too rich for the Brewers' blood, worth $6.5 million next season. He's coming from the Tigers right now. He's having a solid season, not lights out type of season. He's got a 2.53 ERA, 37 games, 32 innings pitched. He's got 12 holds this year. He doesn't strike out everybody he faces, 39 in 32 innings, which is not bad. His whip is 1.063, which is very good. He'll pitch to contact. But the big thing that I like about Andrew Chafin, he doesn't allow homers. 1 home run allowed all season long. And lefties, as you would imagine, have a tough time against Chafin. He has one of the best mustaches in all of baseball, too. Lefties hitting just .229 with a .625 OPS, but a big part of his success this year, he's getting righties out as well. 191 average with a .480 OPS. So if you can throw him into this bullpen picture when Cousins returns, because you're going to get right-handed heavy here really fast as they try to figure out what they have with McGee, there's a lot of directions you can go in that regard with how many lefties do we want to carry, Suter being the extended guy, Milner's kind of the fireman. So McGee is really, truly your only situational lefty if you're trying to avoid using Milner too early in a game. I like the thought of Chafin. I don't think that's going to happen because the Brewers are kind of chock full in the bullpen right now. Okay, I think I got to everybody. I hope I got to everybody. This is a long episode, so my apologies. Thanks for listening. Get ready for your weekend. Have a good time. Brewers, Red Sox tonight at Fenway. Gosh, I love Fenway. It'll be a whole lot of fun. Back on Monday, and get ready for the trade deadline on Tuesday. Brewers will be in Pittsburgh on Monday, getting ready for that series. Then they return home next weekend against the Reds, and it could be a very different team by then. Whew, that was a big mailbag episode. The mail has been delivered. Let's have a great weekend. Thank you for listening, everybody. I am Dominic Cotroneo. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Brewers. Follow myself at Dom_Cotroneo. And until next time, keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.